All right, so Mr. Speaker, I have heard the members who have contributed to the debate thus far, and I am aware that there are more members who have indicated that they want to contribute. And I think as they see the direction that I'm taking, then they will understand and we can speak thereafter. But as I have gotten up a couple of things, Mr. Speaker, and I say this one to the members in general, as this is our first official business day of the Parliament. I do agree that the standing orders provides the guide, and I will ask that when people quote from the standing orders, that they read the provision in full. Because if they don't do that, they may take out a part to try and give an impression that is false. So when the leader of opposition, the member, read the provision in relation to the selection of committees, he framed it in a particular manner. It says, except as otherwise provided by these orders or by special direction of the House, a select committee may elect a chairman from the members. He never mentioned the first area of the provision, especially the special direction of the House in which we sit, as a route through which chairmen of committees can be chosen. I will not say it was purposefully misleading, but I will ask the members to read the provisions in full, or they may give a wrong impression. The other thing that I say to all the members, especially those who've been around for longer than I have been around, there are some conventions that have been established over time. And those conventions are so well established that when the House prepares the documentation for these committees, it is actually included in the documentation. One of those conventions have to do with ministers of state, and the fact that ministers of state have sat on many a select committee, including committees in the last session on which the opposition sat and did not complain. And that is why the motions are written in a manner that says notwithstanding. And because what the member from Eastern Westmoreland said rightly, that as a small parliament, we have to look at some of the conventions that have been used to ensure that you can effectively function as a government. That is why the provision for notwithstanding Standing Order 68.3 has been maintained from before I was in this parliament. In fact, from before I was born. And opposition and government, in the spirit of working together, opposition and government, in the spirit of working together, even in the last sitting, the last term of Parliament, in the spirit of working together, opposition and government have worked together on this. And that is why people like the Honourable Member, State Minister Witter, would have chaired the Regulations Committee in the last term. That is why Member Main would have been on multiple commissions, and this opposition under the same leadership, the same leader of opposition, the same leader of opposition business raised no issue. I say that the opposition must reflect as to whether we are going to truly work together in a spirit of cooperation. I'll make two more points and then I'll indicate my intention. No, there is a fallacy that is paraded around as to whether the committees function better under opposition rule, chairmanship, which was a brief point in our history. And when I looked at the functioning of the committees in relation to how many times they met, it is very hard to discern the difference between when the opposition was in charge of the committees and when the government was in charge of the committees. In fact, with a committee like the Ethics Committee, between 2012 and 2015, it met nine times. It met 9 times. A committee under the change during that same 3-year period between 2016 and 2020, it met 15 times. Again, what you hear the members speaking of is that it depends on the amount of work that the committee has to do. The additional point that I will raise is that there are schemes that are outlined in the standing order. The standing order has some committees that it indicates who the chairmanship is. By convention, we have always allowed the opposition to chair the Public Accounts Committee and the PAAC, and that has not changed. Additionally, when you look at the UK system, there is only one committee chaired by the opposition, and that's the Public Accounts Committee. Only one committee. And the reason for that, Mr. Speaker, is that despite what has been said by the members, committees like the Production, the Human Resources, the Economy and Production Committee, the Infrastructure Committee, are established to ensure that the policy direction of the government is being implemented through its ministries and agencies. And again, and it is not by chance that the PAC and the PAAC, remember the PAC is the committee that has Auditor General reports to, and the PAAC that always had embedded in it a strong oversight responsibility, were chaired by the opposition. So, as the member from West Central, St. James, indicated, when you look at the definition of the committees and what they're called upon to do, for you to believe that a member of the government could not effectively chair that committee, I think is a false assertion. So, there are other points, Mr. Speaker, but I will say this thing, because, Mr. Speaker, I want us to embark on this journey with a sort of sameness of purpose, appreciating that the people have selected a government, that the government is here to work with the opposition, appreciating that on every single committee, the opposition has members. What I will allow me, members. What I will What I will do, Speaker, what I will do, because to be honest, I thought we were on, when I spoke to my opposition counterpart, even though he did indicate some misgivings in relation to the chairmanship, right? I thought that the other matters that they have raised, which especially the ones which they as government, when they were government, were accorded those privileges, I think maybe it is the moment they are utilizing. So what I will do, I will suspend the debate. I will have a discussion with the leader of opposition business so that when we come back here, hopefully we are in one accord. Additionally, as I said when I started, I urge the leader of opposition business and the leader of the opposition that things that they accorded within the past, as soon as the term before us, committees that they sat on with composition of state ministers, don't use this opportunity to grandstand, but let us work together. So, Mr. Speaker, I ask for the suspension of the debate, and we will continue.